Zen pilot savoring views slowly, showman thriving on short grass spectacles, dedicated student building repeatable patterns, minimalist stripping everything non-essential, explorer disassembling rapidly for trailer adventures. 10 ultralights prove that matching aircraft to flying personality matters more than specification sheets that marketing departments prioritize. Minimalist versus explorer, discover your ideal ultralight style. Weekend warriors discovered that short field performance wasn't reserved for expensive STOL aircraft when the Kolb Firefly demonstrated that low wing loading and proper technique could transform grass strips into spectacle runways. This tube and fabric ultralight converts minimal airspeed into generous lift through wing area that seems disproportionate until watching takeoff rolls consuming merely 200 through 350 feet on cold mornings with headwind assistance. The magic emerges from setup discipline. Minimum weight carrying only mission fuel, climb-biased propeller delivering high static thrust, tire pressure preventing grass digging and wind window selection, favoring calm conditions that don't amplify the aircraft's lightweight into crosswind conversations that demand constant corrections. The winning sequence demands progressive power application, without shocking the airframe, slightly high nose attitude during soft field departure preventing nose wheel plowing, rotation precisely when wing generates adequate lift, several seconds, maintaining ground effect while building, indicated airspeed without excessive drag penalties, and climb attitude that preserves energy rather than exhibiting steep angles that bleed speed dangerously. Landing technique prioritizes final approach, stabilization between 42 through 48 miles per hour, avoiding float temptation since generous ground effect extends rollout unexpectedly, touchdown targeting predetermined point with mains first contact, and minimal braking allowing grass friction performing deceleration work naturally. Video content that retains audiences demands honest methodology. Mark intervals on grass, time 3 takeoffs and landings without cherry picking. Display averages, explaining why attempt 2 outperformed attempt 1 through temperature, wind, weight, or technique variables. The Firefly rewards pilots cooperating with aerodynamics rather than fighting through brute force when flown intelligently within design envelope respecting density altitude realities that physics never negotiates, regardless of pilot confidence levels or experience claims. Visual iconography defined ultralight movement when Team AirBike emerged with exposed structure and minimalist aesthetic that made spectators feel they could build flying bicycles in residential garages using basic tools and weekend dedication. Low empty weight combined with generous wing area and thrust-optimized propeller delivers brief ground rolls and short landings when lightly loaded and properly trimmed, creating camera-friendly operations that audiences replay repeatedly trying to comprehend how something appearing so fragile performs so capably. Pre-flight ritual begins with walk-around examining fabric tension, preventing aerodynamic degradation, cable terminals, inspecting for frayed wires indicating replacement necessity, hardware verification ensuring structural integrity, and tire pressure, matching grass strip requirements that pavement never demanded during initial training operations conducted at certificated airports. Short field technique follows simple manual, straight alignment without sloppy centering, smooth continuous power preventing shock loading, maintaining light nose pressure, avoiding planted attitude, increasing rolling resistance, feeling wing awakening through control feedback, allowing aircraft departing naturally without excessive back pressure, remaining within ground effect building indicated airspeed before climbing cleanly. Split-screen comparisons between climb-biased versus cruise-optimized propellers demonstrate that gaining 50 through 80 feet shorter takeoff costs 6 through 8 knots cruise performance, forcing builders choosing priorities matching missions. Morning calmness preference emerges from lightness, amplifying crosswind challenges. Defining personal wind limits prevents accidents that overconfidence creates predictably. The AirBike delivers video content featuring 40 through 55 miles per hour indicators, genuine rolls without editing trickery, authentic wind audio, and comment sections filling with viewers expressing freedom feelings that marketing cannot manufacture artificially. Yet iconography represented merely one ultralight philosophy. Consistency advocates were demonstrating that predictable handling could accelerate learning curves when aircraft forgave technique lapses that punished impulsive control inputs mercilessly. Postcard imagery defined recreational aviation when Quicksilver MX appeared with open framework resembling hang glider evolution and 360-degree visibility that made flying feel more like soaring than piloting enclosed cockpits that isolated pilots from atmospheric sensations. This design doesn't chase records. It delivers visible consistency that encourages practicing touch-and-go sequences until muscle memory replaces conscious thought processes. The ritual generating honest video content involves marking 200 and 300 feet intervals on grass, declaring wind and weight setup transparently, executing 5 consecutive takeoff and landing attempts without hiding imperfect results, and publishing averages rather than cherry-picking best performance that misleads audiences into unrealistic expectations. Aerodynamically, the MX transforms minimal indicated airspeed into adequate lift through low wing loading physics. With lightness and headwind assistance, departures consume short distances, climbs proceed serenely without drama, and final approach stabilization occurs predictably around 40 through 50 miles per hour without surprises. It forgives micro errors while teaching valuable lessons. Excessive tire pressure elongates ground roll unnecessarily. Surplus weight murders, short field magic, slight tailwind components, steal runway feet that conservative planning cannot afford sacrificing. The MX shines when pilots repeat operations, demonstrating that technique rather than trickery creates consistent performance, making spectators comment, return, and share content because authenticity resonates deeper than production manipulation ever achieves alone. Yet consistency represented merely foundation. Dedicated students were discovering that aircraft communicating control feedback clearly could accelerate skill development dramatically. Patient instruction manifested physically when Kolb Ultrastar demonstrated that every control input generated proportional feedback that accelerated learning curves dramatically compared to aircraft that masked pilot errors through excess power or ambiguous handling characteristics confusing beginners. With extremely low wing loading, this ultralight departs short, floats elegantly within ground effect, and lands gently even when trajectories remain conservative. Cold mornings with light loading and smooth grass reveal takeoff distances spanning 200 through 350 feet, and landing requirements between 220 through 350 feet. Not as daily best performance, but as repeatable averages that planning accommodates reliably. Energy management secrets emerged through organized methodology. Power increasing smoothly, nose remaining light, rotation occurring when wing requests naturally, several seconds dwelling within ground effect until safe indicated airspeed appears, and climb initiated without sawing control stick. The Ultrastar teaches density altitude lessons practically. Adding 10 through 15 pounds baggage or encountering high density altitude stretches, ground roll measurably, creating habits of departing light and selecting cool mornings when performance margins remain comfortable. Content perfection emerges through stall without stress presentations. Airspeed indicator displaying 40 miles per hour on screen. Balloons marking 50-foot intervals visibly. Simple explanations. Why takeoff? 3 outperformed takeoff 2. Patience represented merely one teaching method. Other designs were proving that slow flight stability could build confidence foundations through gentleness rather than intimidation. Proving that slow equals beautiful emerged when Dream Classic demonstrated that stable slow flight, extended flare, and predictable landing behavior delivered exactly what beginners needed for building confidence without intimidation that aggressive aircraft imposed mercilessly. Low wing loading permits 25 through 35 miles per hour stall speeds, becoming reality when lightly loaded and operating in cold air. Final approach at 40 through 45 miles per hour creates Zen platform for adjusting power and attitude with millimetric precision. With well-maintained grass, seeing 200 through 350 feet takeoff distances and 220 through 350 feet landing rolls occurs routinely without nonsense or exaggeration. Winning technique involves soft field calmness, nose relieved, progressive power, rotation at proper moment, ground effect used consciously, and clean climb without drama. The Dream forgives small errors while educating. Hard tires elongate rollout, excess weight taxes climb performance, tailwind components murder available runway mercilessly. Content gold lives in golden hour filming, 40 through 45 miles per hour, mere feet above pasture, clean wind audio and microphone, and near miss that never happens because planning preceded action intelligently. The Dream Classic proves that freedom isn't flying far but flying slow, low, and well. For beginning backcountry domestic life, this aircraft represents gentle embrace rather than harsh instructor. Yet gentleness represented merely one philosophy. Minimalist extremists were demonstrating that stripping everything non-essential could reveal aerodynamic truths that complexity obscured completely. Transforming practice into measurable progress became reality when Flightstar Spyder proved that predictable behavior, clear control communication, and repeatable circuit patterns could become reflexive through dedicated repetition that sloppy aircraft never permitted consistently. The magic lives in balanced compromise between wing area, weight, and controls. Low-moderate wing loading provides maneuvering margin without creating endless float. Linear commands deliver feedback without surprises near stall speeds that calm students still refining technique. Cold days with light loading and smooth grass reveal takeoff distances spanning 250 through 400 feet and landings matching similar ranges, with finals stabilizing around 45 through 55 miles per hour comfortably. Focus here isn't record chasing, but average building. Execute 5-time touch and goes without hiding errors, compare perfect day against warm day results, and discover that micro rudder corrections maintain centerline economizing runway. Hard tires elongate rolls unnecessarily, adding 10 through 15 pounds. Steel's feet you can't afford losing. and delayed flare by 2 seconds. Adds 100 through 150 feet to roll out measurably. The Spyder teaches through immediate feedback that small adjustments create measurable differences that spreadsheets capture and memory retains permanently. For video, display table on screen showing feet, miles per hour, wind data, and explain why attempt 3 performed worse than attempt 2 honestly. Audiences learn alongside you, trust develops naturally, and return visits become habitual rather than occasional. Predictability represented merely foundation. Minimalist severity was proving that stripping comfort could reveal physics lessons that forgiving designs masked through excess margin, obscuring cause-effect relationships students needed understanding fundamentally. Severe instruction materialized when B1RD revealed what instruments sometimes hide. Weight acts as tyrant, wind serves as judge, attitude delivers sentence without appeal or negotiation possibilities. With extremely low wing loading, every gram becomes runway meters, every gust becomes rudder, conversation demanding immediate response. Cold mornings with light loading and smooth surface yield 180 through 300 feet takeoff distances and 200 through 320 feet landing requirements, with finals stabilizing around 40 through 48 miles per hour. But highlight reels deceive. Heat, adding 20 pounds, and absent headwind stretch numbers rapidly, delivering practical density altitude lessons that every beginner requires learning through direct experience rather than theoretical discussion. Correct operations begin before engine start, honest go-no-go decisions, mission-specific fuel loading, minimalist baggage philosophy, abort point marking, and conservative wind window selection that pride doesn't compromise foolishly. Crosswind humility remains mandatory. Wait for better conditions, change runway heading, or don't fly rather than proving bravery that physics punishes predictably. The B1RD doesn't mask anything. It rewards discipline generously and punishes haste mercilessly without compromise. For accelerated learning, conduct the weight experiment that educates permanently. Measure solo light versus adding 20 pounds, film with miles per hour and feet displayed on screen, and comment explaining why differences occurred through physics rather than piloting skill alone. Pilots discovering this aircraft learn that ultralight freedom emerges from understanding physics fundamentally and respecting natural laws, without shortcuts that arrogance suggests but reality denies consistently. Yet minimalism represented merely one extreme. Poetic slowness advocates were demonstrating that inhabiting 25 through 35 miles per hour flight regimes could transform flying into meditation rather than transportation. Poetry of extreme slowness manifested when Zigolo MG12 inhabited the 25 through 35 miles per hour realm where Earth below decelerates visually, and energy reading becomes almost tactile sensation that instruments cannot replicate adequately. Think of it as ultralight motor glider. Efficiency and lightness prioritized over brute force that heavier designs demand, compensating for aerodynamic inefficiency. On well-maintained grass strips, lightly loaded in friendly air, seeing 200 through 400 feet take off in equivalent landing distances occurs commonly, always prioritizing stability and predictability over extreme numbers that videos showcase but daily operations cannot sustain safely or consistently. Here, objectives aren't proving extreme numbers but savoring control mastery. Ground effect becomes generous cushion demanding respect, pushing angle without adequate indicated airspeed yields, nothing productive, excess weight changes everything measurably, rough surface steals, runway feet invisibly. Split screen comparing smooth versus rough strips makes differences tangible without words that audiences forget, but visuals that memory retains permanently. Crosswind conservatism remains essential. Select calm mornings or peaceful evenings exclusively, or remain grounded without regret or second-guessing that pride suggests foolishly. The Zigolo becomes perfect content for 40 kilometers per hour point of view series, helmet camera, wind audio, minimalist miles per hour overlay, and commentary about how sound signatures change with energy state transitions. For beginners seeking peace, sensory reading development, and refined technique, the MG12 offers gentle school without harshness. Yet Zen represented merely one learning path. Consistency laboratories were proving that building repeatable routines could transform subjective feelings into objective numbers that progress tracking demanded for motivation. Maintenance. Consistency laboratory materialized when Falcon XP enabled building training routines, comparing results week over week, and witnessing evolution through numbers rather than subjective feelings that memory distorts conveniently. With low-moderate wing loading and predictable controls, it offers finals stabilizing around 45 through 55 miles per hour. Takeoff and landing distances spanning 250 through 400 feet when lightly loaded in cold air on smooth grass, and tolerates slightly more wind than minimalist extremes, though respecting gusts remains mandatory always. Methodology transforming pilots involves defining setup parameters including weight, wind, and density altitude, marking 200 and 300 feet intervals, executing 5 consecutive takeoffs and 5 landings, recording average and median values, then repeating on warm day comparing results directly. Discoveries emerge quickly. Adding 2 through 3 knots on final approach translates into dozens of feet. Extended rollout, micro rudder corrections, maintains centerline economizing runway dramatically. Incorrect tire pressure steals performance invisibly. Delayed flare by 2 seconds adds measurable distance that graphs displayed on screen teach audiences who never flew anything personally. Winning technique involves soft field with light nose, progressive power application, ground effect used sparingly, climb with efficient attitude, avoiding excessive angle that airspeed cannot support safely. The Falcon transforms good feelings into repeatable numbers that spreadsheets capture and progress, tracking demands for maintaining motivation through inevitable plateaus. For video, simple on-screen table displaying feet, miles per hour, wind data, honest error explanation on attempt 3, and practical tip delivered at 3 minutes. 10 seconds holds retention beautifully. If transforming sensation into measurable reality appeals, this ultralight delivers educational framework consistently. Yet consistency represented merely one approach. Explorers were demonstrating that trike simplicity combined with trailer portability could unlock entire maps of pastures that conventional aircraft never accessed economically. Different ultralight philosophy emerged when Flylight NiNE demonstrated that trike lightness, rapid disassembly, trailer compatibility, and entire map accessibility through pasture operations could deliver freedom that hangar-dependent aircraft never approached practically. The proposition emphasizes simplicity, fewer systems creating more sensation without complexity obscuring fundamental aerodynamic lessons. In friendly wind windows, lightly loaded on smooth grass, it delivers takeoff and landing distances spanning 200 through 400 feet, but experience conquers, 25 through 40 miles per hour, feels like suspended stroll with 360-degree visibility and body-controlled bar delivering sensations that enclosed cockpits cannot replicate remotely. For beginners, this becomes clear energy and drag classroom. You feel when wing wants flying, perceive how weight and surface texture change story dramatically, and understand rapidly why tailwind components forgive nothing mercifully. Winning technique involves decisive alignment, gentle power application, nose and wing positioned for soft field operations, takeoff precisely when sail awakens, several seconds dwelling in ground effect, and clean climb without drama or excessive attitude that bleeds energy dangerously. As trike, the NiNE demands crosswind respect. Define personal limits, use wind meter religiously, and prepare not flying when window closes rather than gambling with physics that negotiations reject universally. For video, the Trailer Pasture Sunset package sells itself. Time-lapse showing assembly and storage, 3-time landings measured objectively, and quick checklist explaining when not flying becomes wisdom rather than cowardice. For explorers wanting simple logistics, low costs, and pure sensation, the NiNE delivers freedom in solid state provided you cooperate with wind and embrace humility that experience teaches gradually but permanently through direct consequences that memory never forgets completely. 10 personalities prove that matching aircraft to temperament matters more than chasing specifications that marketing prioritizes, but satisfaction ignores completely. Which ultralight personality resonates with your flying philosophy and mission priorities? Smash that like button sharing your choice. Drop comments explaining why specific temperament appeals most personally. Hit subscribe so you never miss ultralight content revealing what personalities suit different pilot types. Share this with beginners needing honest guidance beyond marketing materials. Watch the videos appearing on your screen and continue with us. Bye-bye.